Joined now by author Ron Kaufman, New York Times bestseller, Uplifting Service. Talking about today, power of please and thank you. Ron, thanks for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Pleasure to be with you this morning.
See, I said thank you in the opening. That's already a good start, isn't it?
Bingo.
Can you explain to me the reason for the book, Uplifting Service?
Sure. Uplifting Service really looks at the entire service crisis that we're facing today, where people are suffering from lousy service, and so many service providers are resentful and cynical and resigned about their jobs. It's time for all of us to really take a fresh look here and say, hey, we're all in service to each other. And there's a way that we can build a service culture that will give everybody a better experience and greater satisfaction while serving one another.
Was your motivation to do this that you've seen that there's a lack of customer service as opposed to, say, 15, 20 years ago?
Well, I've suffered with this just like everybody else, but even in this space of lack of good service, some companies continue to stand out. So whether it's Apple or Ritz-Carlton or Singapore Airlines, they've built a strong culture of uplifting service. And that's what the book is about. It's how you can do that, too, inside your organization. And those cultures are not only more profitable, which everybody needs in today's economy, but they also naturally attract and retain the best people who want to work there because they have a better service experience going to work as well as serving customers.
Now, would you say that when it comes to dealing with customers, that it comes down to the company's policy, or do you think it's the employees that they're hiring?
I think it's a combination. Building a culture requires that you do get the right people on board, and recruitment is one part of culture building. But the policies, the procedures, the other elements that the company is responsible for, those must also be done right. And that's why I call it the proven path. What are the steps that any company can take to build a stronger culture?
Now, when it comes to the people that we're hiring, is there a certain kind of quality that you're looking for in individuals?
Well, what I'm looking for is somebody who knows that service is taking action to create value for someone else. That the purpose of a job is not to follow the procedure or the checklist. The purpose of the procedure and the checklist is to create value for another human being, whether that's your external customer or your colleague. And somebody who has that kind of attitude, like, what can I do to help other people? Someone who comes to work and doesn't say, what's in it for me, but comes to work and say, what can I do for you? That's the kind of orientation that you want in the people who are working with you in your organization. And that's one of the keys to building an uplifting service culture.
No, it does seem like, Ron, that a lot of times when you go to a retail organization where they will say certain things, but it feels like they're reading from a script, even if they aren't necessarily doing so. And they may do it in a lackluster way because they're obligated to do so. If that's done that way, is that just ineffective, or is that still something that is a positive for that organization?
Well, it's better than somebody being insulting and using profanity. So let's accept it for what it is. But the problem there is that people they're suffering with this thing called customer service training. You train somebody what to do. You train somebody how to follow a precise action in a specific situation. We train airline pilots. You put them in a simulator so they know exactly what to do. But in service situations, customers and colleagues don't always come to you with exactly a scripted situation. So if all we do is train people how to respond like automatons, then no wonder that's all it is that they're doing. What I say we need to do today is educate people about service. And if you think about what your kids are learning in school, they're probably learning math, science, history, English, but nobody's teaching them the fundamental principles of service. And that's an entire section in the new book called Uplifting Service. Section number 4 is called Learn. It's the fundamental service principles that all of us need to understand so we can figure out how to apply them at work every day.
Can the trouble, Ron, be that a lot of times the people you're going to get, they may not look at this as a career. They may look at this as just a job to make some money to allow them to go through school, or maybe they're in high school, or whatever the case may be.
Right. Well, when you say it's just a job to make the money, to allow them to get through school, okay, that's a very short-term way of looking at something. But let's take any waiter, for example. It's just a job, wants to make money. How do you make more money? How do you get a great promotion? How do you earn a bonus? How do you get the boss to give you a letter of recommendation so that on your next job application, you'll be looking even better. Well, the way you get all of those things that you want is that first you've got to create value by giving something to somebody else that they will appreciate. So it's an old time-known adage, which is what goes around comes around. And the challenge really is to get people to focus on what is it that I can give so that the value that I want will then come back, rather than going to work just saying, how do I get what I want?
Does that come from, a work ethic that people may have ingrained in themselves? Or do you honestly believe that can be taught?
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is a fundamental that should be taught, and I think children at a very young age could understand it, that, we teach respect and we teach honesty, but you can also teach caring about others, being other-focused. And that's the whole thing about uplifting service, is that if service is taking action to create value for someone else, then uplifting service is doing it in a way where not only do you comply with the requirements, not only do you meet expectations, but you also create an experience for the other person where their life is a little bit better. If you go through life doing that for other people, life will turn around and do that for you.
So you feel as though that will give you other opportunities because you don't know who you might impress along the way.
Absolutely. You're that person who has the reputation of being the great colleague, the helpful teammate, the customer service provider that will go the extra mile. When we say that somebody has great professionalism, we mean that they know what they're doing. They're technically smart, but they also have a great attitude. I mean, Jay, you've been served by people who know what they're doing, but they have a bad attitude. You wouldn't call that a great professional. And you've met people who have a great attitude and don't know what they're doing, and that's not a great service professional either. So in uplifting service, we need both.
Do you feel as though that interpersonal communication has taken a hit as well because we do a lot of communicating with email and texting?
Yes, I agree. And yet, even in email and text, you have an opportunity with the language that you use, your choice and your selection of words, your timing, you're being proactive, you're following up with another message. You can still assert and experience a great service mindset. You can still communicate with somebody else in a way that lets them know that you care. Take a look at something like Amazon.com. Amazon doesn't even meet you face-to-face. They hardly talk to you over the phone. But if you ever have an issue with something that you ordered from them, the emails that you get back will be the most friendly, helpful, encouraging text that you'll be getting in a week. And you'll remember that, and that's great service mindset too.
Now, are those specific, or are they just automated replies?
Well, they're automated at first because they will know that you have a particular situation, but then they also invite you, in the event that the automated reply is not sufficient, to give them the details. And then you'll start getting very personalized messages from people who are empowered and enabled to be able to help take care of your situation.
Do you feel like it is a turnoff to get automated replies, or if you're calling a customer service and you consistently are not being able to talk to a person?
Well, it depends on how well that interactive voice response or that automated reply on the FAQ page on the website is designed. Sometimes companies will put those up almost like a blockade wall to try to keep the customer away, and that's crazy. But you and I know that if we can go someplace and do self-service and get exactly what we want, and get it quickly and get our questions answered, that's good service too. So technology does have a role to play. Technology should help to handle the easy questions and should help to enable the service providers, the humans, to be able to address the really special situations that require human intervention.
Now, is this a step that employers should also take a look at and take a look at this book, and maybe they can, have a better idea of who they should be looking for and maybe even train their current employees?
Absolutely. The book is called Uplifting Service, and there are 5 sections called Why. Why do you want to build an uplifting service culture? Lead. How do you get people to lead service culture from every level, not just from the top? Build. What are the 12 building blocks of service culture? And as we mentioned in this interview, recruitment is just one of those 12. Learn. What are the fundamental service principles people need to learn? And then drive. How can you implement this in your organization? And if your listeners go to upliftingservice.com, they can get the whole first section of the book for free.
Okay, very good. Upliftingservice.com is the website, is that right?
Upliftingservice.com. And the book is called Uplifting Service, The Proven Path to Delighting Your Customers, Colleagues, and Everyone Else you meet.
Okay. All right, Ron, thank you for taking the time today, and good luck to you.
Absolute pleasure to be with you, and thank you for serving your listeners.
You're welcome. That's Ron Kaufman, author of the book Uplifting Service. Go and check it out, especially if you're someone that works in the service industry.